He was impeached twice, indicted on 91 criminal charges, convicted of 34 felony counts. He was shot at and survived. He lost the presidency and came back to win it again. No American president in history has been more investigated, more prosecuted, more protested against, and yet he won the presidency twice. Lost it once, came back and won it again. Impeached twice, convicted once, shot at, elected twice, still standing. How does a man like this even happen? This is Donald J. Trump, America's 45th and 47th president, and this on AK World Vision is his complete story. I'm Amrendra Kumar, welcome to AK World Vision. Today we are telling the story of the most controversial and most consequential political figure of the 21st century. Let's get into it. The 14th of June 1946, Queens, New York. Not Manhattan, not the glamorous heart of New York City. Queens, one of the outer boroughs. A boy is born, the fourth of 5 children. His name Donald John Trump. His father Fred Trump was a real estate developer, not a billionaire, not famous, a hardworking, disciplined man who built affordable housing across Brooklyn and Queens. His mother, Mary Ann MacLeod, a Scottish immigrant who came to America in 1930 with almost nothing and built a life from scratch. Young Donald grew up in a large, comfortable house in Jamaica Estates, privileged but not Manhattan elite. Fred Trump was strict, demanding, obsessed with success. He told his children, "You are killers, you are kings." Donald absorbed that lesson completely. When Donald was 13, his father recognized a restlessness in him, a defiance, and sent him to the New York Military Academy. 4 years of military discipline. Donald didn't just survive, he thrived. He became a star athlete, a captain of the student corps. The academy didn't tame Donald Trump, it sharpened him. After the academy, he attended Fordham University for 2 years, then transferred to the prestigious Wharton School of Finance. At the University of Pennsylvania, he graduated in 1968 with a degree in economics. While his peers were being drafted to Vietnam, Trump received 5 draft deferments, 4 for college, 1 for bonus spurs in his heels. He never served in the military. And in 1968, he joined his father's company, the Trump Organization. The son was ready to eclipse the father. In the 1970s, New York City was in crisis. Crime was soaring. The city was nearly bankrupt. Businesses were leaving Manhattan. Donald Trump saw not a dying city, but the greatest opportunity of his life. His first massive play, the rundown Commodore Hotel near Grand Central Terminal. Trump negotiated a 40-year tax abatement from New York City, transformed it into the Grand Hyatt Hotel, made his first real fortune. Then came the deal that made him a legend. Trump Tower, 1983, 5th Avenue, Manhattan, 58 floors, glass and bronze, right in the heart of New York's most prestigious address. Trump Tower wasn't just a building, it was a statement. In 1987, he wrote The Art of the Deal. It became a has-won bestseller. Trump wasn't just a builder anymore, he was a brand. But success brought overreach, Atlantic City casinos, massive expansion, overextended debt. By the early 1990s, Trump's companies had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy multiple times. The banks kept him afloat, calculating that a living Trump was worth more than a bankrupt Trump, and Trump, true to form, came back. Restructured, rebuilt, rebranded, but his greatest reinvention was still ahead. And it wouldn't happen in real estate. It would happen on television. 2004 NBC. Thursday nights, a new reality TV show premieres, The Apprentice. Contestants compete for a job at the Trump Organization. And Trump, sitting at the boardroom table, delivered one of the most iconic catchphrases in television history. 14 seasons, millions of viewers every week. Trump became one of the most recognized faces in America, not as a businessman, as a celebrity. He had built towers, gone bankrupt, come back. But The Apprentice gave him something no skyscraper could. He was in America's living rooms every single week, and he was learning something crucial: how to perform for a camera, how to command attention, how to make millions of people watch, skills that would take him somewhere nobody saw coming. The 16th of June 2015, Donald Trump stepped onto a golden escalator in the lobby of Trump Tower and descended into American political history. In his announcement speech, he said words that shocked Washington. Pundits laughed. Journalists predicted he'd be gone within weeks. The Republican establishment dismissed him completely. Nobody was laughing. On the 8th of November 2016, Donald Trump defeated Hillary Clinton, one of the most experienced politicians in American history, in one of the greatest political upsets in modern history. He won the Electoral College 306 to 232, He won because millions of Americans felt left behind by Washington, left behind by trade deals that shipped their jobs overseas, left behind by an establishment that stopped listening. Trump listened, or at least made them feel heard. On the 20th of January 2017, at 70 years old, Donald Trump became the oldest person ever to assume the presidency, the first president in history with no prior political office or military service. Trump's first term, 2017 to 2021, can only be described as unprecedented. The achievements, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the biggest tax overhaul since 1986. Corporate rates cut from 35% to 21%. Supporters called it economic rocket fuel. Critics called it a giveaway to the rich. He appointed 3 Supreme Court justices, reshaping America's highest court for a generation. In 2020, the Abraham Accords. Israel normalized relations with 4 Arab nations, something career diplomats called impossible. When COVID-19 hit, Operation Warp Speed delivered a vaccine in under 9 months, a process that normally takes a decade. The controversies. He withdrew from the Paris Climate Agreement, the Iran nuclear deal, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He launched a trade war with China, with tariffs at the highest level in decades. Impeached the first time for pressuring Ukraine to investigate political rival Joe Biden, acquitted by the Senate. In November 2020, Trump lost to Joe Biden. He refused to accept the result, claiming without evidence the election was stolen. The 6th of January 2021, after a rally near the White House, a mob of Trump supporters stormed the United States Capitol while Congress was certifying Biden's victory. The certification was suspended, lawmakers hid under desks, people died. Trump was impeached a second time, the first president in American history to be impeached twice, acquitted by the Senate again. He left office on the 20th of January 2021. Most assumed his political career was finished. Most were wrong. What happened between 2021 and 2025 is one of the most extraordinary stories in the history of democracy. Trump was indicted across 4 separate criminal cases. Federal charges for mishandling classified documents, federal charges for trying to overturn the 2020 election, state charges in Georgia for election interference, New York business fraud charges. In May 2024, a New York jury found him guilty on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. He became the first former US president in history ever convicted of a felony crime. The 13th of July 2024, Butler, Pennsylvania. At a campaign rally, a gunman opened fire. A bullet grazed his right ear. Trump ducked behind the podium, then stood up, raised his fist, mouth, fight, fight, fight. That single image, a bloodied Trump defiant fist in the air, went around the world within minutes, and many analysts believe it won him the election. The 5th of November 2024, Trump defeated Vice President Kamala Harris, winning the Electoral College and the popular vote. He became only the second president in American history to win 2 non-consecutive terms, the first since Grover Cleveland in the 19th century. On the 20th of January 2025, he became the oldest person ever inaugurated as US president at 78, the first president with a felony conviction, the second to serve non-consecutive terms. 3 records, 1 man, 1 day. Trump's second term, which began the 20th of January 2025, moved faster than anything Washington had ever seen. In 2025 alone, he signed 228 executive orders, more than any other president in their first year. His actions were challenged in over 550 lawsuits nationwide. He created the Department of Government Efficiency with tech billionaire Elon Musk, which fired tens of thousands of federal workers, dismantled multiple agencies, and triggered massive protests across the country. He launched the most aggressive immigration crackdown in American history. By late 2025, the US experienced negative net migration for the first time in at least 50 years, according to the Brookings Institution. In July 2025, he signed the One Big Beautiful Bill, making his 2017 tax cuts permanent. The Congressional Budget Office estimated it would increase the number of uninsured Americans by 10 million over 10 years. His global tariff war, the highest since the 1930s, was ultimately struck down by the Supreme Court in February 2026, ruling that the International Emergency Economic Powers Act did not give the president the authority to impose tariffs. In June 2025, his administration aided Israel in strikes on Iranian nuclear sites, what he called the 12-day war. In early October 2025, his ceasefire plan between Israel and Hamas was signed. He ordered a military operation to capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, bringing him to the United States on drug trafficking charges.
And in February 2026, he launched a major attack on Iran alongside Israel with the stated goal of regime change, resulting in the killing of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. But not everything went as planned. The Supreme Court struck down his tariffs. Over 550 lawsuits challenged his executive actions. Federal spending, despite Doge's promise of $1 trillion in cuts, actually went up in fiscal year 2025. Behind the rallies and the headlines, who is Donald Trump as a person? He has been married 3 times. First wife Ivana Trump, Czech businesswoman, divorced 1991. 3 children, Donald Jr., Ivanka and Eric. Second wife Marla Maples, actress, divorced 1999. 1 daughter Tiffany. Current wife Melania Trump, Slovenian model, the second foreign-born first lady in American history. 1 son together, Barron, born 2006. Those close to Trump say he sleeps just 3 to 4 hours a night, watches enormous amounts of cable news, prefers verbal briefings over reading, has a genuine love for McDonald's fast food is a real preference, and has never consumed alcohol not once in his life. He has an iron memory for slides and genuine warmth toward those he considers loyal. At 79 years old, he is the oldest sitting president in American history. Donald Trump's legacy is genuinely impossible to summarize fairly. His supporters say he remade America's judiciary for a generation. 3 Supreme Court justices, 200 plus federal judges. He brokered the Abraham Accords, historic Middle Eastern peace. He gave a voice to millions of Americans ignored by Washington. He destroyed Iran's nuclear program. He took on China when no one else dared. His critics say he became the first US president convicted of felony crimes. He incited an attack on the US Capitol on January 6. He launched a global trade war, later struck down by his own Supreme Court, that raised costs for ordinary Americans. He weakened democratic institutions, courts, press, elections. His deportation policies separated families and caused deaths. His One Big Beautiful Bill is projected to leave 10 million Americans without health insurance. He rewrote the rules of what was politically possible in America. He showed that a president could be impeached twice and come back, convicted of crimes and be re-elected, shot at and turn it into a campaign moment. Whether that is the story of America's greatest disruptor or America's most dangerous president, history is still writing that chapter. From a military academy in Queens to the most powerful office on earth twice, convicted, shot at, impeached, re-elected, Donald Trump is whatever you think of him, the most consequential American political story of our lifetime. If this video gave you value, please drop a like. It helps AK World Vision reach more people. Subscribe for more deep dive political biographies like this. And tell me in the comments, how do you think history will ultimately judge Donald Trump? Drop your answer below. I read every single comment. I'm Amrendra Kumar. This is AK World Vision. See the world differently.